Yo, how's it going, everyone? It is good to see you. Welcome back to another Sunday Switch discussion. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that ever since I unboxed the system, there's been some type of a video related to Nintendo Switch every single Sunday. Yeah, talk about a freaking paradigm shift, but to be honest, if I'm being 100% real with y'all, I actually like this. I like the idea of us getting together at the end of the week or the beginning of the week, depending on who you're talking to, and just talking about Nintendo Switch. On this, the most holiest of days, we pray to our... Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because A, I know this video is already getting far too derailed for the first minute, and B, I'm gonna offend somebody. So, let's get into today's discussion. What prompted me to make this video actually stems from my experiences playing a particular game on Nintendo Switch. It's a game that by all accounts shouldn't exist. If you were looking at this on paper, if you were to hand me a list of supposed E3 leaks and this was on it, I would have never believed you. That game is, of course, Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Just looking off this cover alone, there's a lot to unpack. This is a crossover between Super Mario Bros., the annoying as hell Rabbids from the Rayman series, throw in some XCOM style gameplay, and have it be developed by Ubisoft. And to quote my good friend the Insane Game Freak, this game is so fucking good! I am having a freaking blast playing Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It's pretty fucking decent, if I don't say so myself, but this is not a review on Mario+Rabbids. On the contrary, we're going to talk about this game's existence and what it means for Nintendo Switch third party. Nintendo Switch's third party, as I'm sure any of you guys who've been a fan of the channel for a while, you would know that I've done many a video discussing Nintendo's third party woes. So I'm not really going to regurgitate too much about said videos. But something about the Nintendo Switch gives me faith. It has me more optimistic about the future. If you were looking at all the Nintendo systems from the N64 onwards, third-party support has been pretty much a hit or miss. In most cases, it's a miss. But something about Nintendo Switch, I have a feeling that at the very least, it's not going to be like those systems. So the TLDR version of this video is, yes, Neo has more faith in the Nintendo Switch than he ever had with any of the Nintendo consoles. But y'all got to understand where I'm coming from with this, because the topic of third party on Nintendo Switch is such a different beast entirely compared to the Wii U. Some of the same things that I was saying about the Wii U and why it didn't have third party support, I can't really apply to the Nintendo Switch, because for the first time in more than a decade, Nintendo has finally created a competent gaming machine. Now, I gotta unpack that because I know some people are gonna get really triggered and just like, what do you mean? They created systems like the Wii U, that was for the hardcore game. Like that. No. I'm talking about a system that at its very core plays video games well. Without all this Wii shit, without trying to chase the casuals with these trends and these fads that in a few years' time, no one's gonna care about. The Nintendo Switch, while people may say, yeah, it's a gimmick that you have these Joy-Cons or whatever, the system functions as a whole. It is a competent gaming machine. Of course, it's lacking in a lot of ways, but at its core, it can play games pretty decently. And that right there, I think, is the reason why we're seeing so much third-party support in the first couple of months of the Nintendo Switch. As you guys have noticed, if you're checking out the eShop, every single week, what the hell am I talking about? Every single day, there are new games coming to the system, whether they're indie games, single A, double A. There's a lot of support on Nintendo Switch. This is the same support that didn't exist on the Nintendo Wii U. And this is why it's very interesting, because the Wii U, contrary to popular belief, actually did have more third-party support in its first year than Nintendo Switch did. It had more diversity, it had bigger studios attached to it, it had all the bigger multiplats. But Nintendo Switch, while it doesn't necessarily have all of those bigger multiplats, it still has more third-party support than the Wii U did. Sure, they're indie games, sure they're ports of games that exist on other platforms, but the sheer fact that those games are on the Switch has me leaning towards, okay, if all these versions are pretty much the same for the most part and they run identically, I might lean towards getting it on Nintendo Switch. And this is so funny because I've never, ever in my wildest imaginations, I've never had a thought, it never passed my brain that I would ever say those words, because it's true. let's be honest, looking at the systems like the Wii, the Wii U, the Nintendo 3DS, nobody's going to be buying a multiplat on those consoles, right? And for obvious reasons, we know why people wouldn't buy a game on those systems, because the hardware is gimped, you're not getting the definitive experience, yada, 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 yada. But with Nintendo Switch, they've got to the point where it's, for the most part, the same. So with third-party support, I think at the bare minimum, we are going to get more of it. But here's the question that I want to ask to you guys. What kind of third-party support is necessary for Nintendo Switch to thrive? And I want to compound off of that, what kind of third-party support do you guys want? Because here's the thing, when we're talking about multi-platform games and how they have a tendency to skip Nintendo systems, right? Like the biggest titles of the year, I'm talking about your Call of Duties, your Maddens, your Battlefields, your Destinies, your Anthems, like whatever big third-party games coming out, Assassin's Creed Origins, those games skip Nintendo platforms. And if they don't, it's like a one offshoot game that they put out that's usually not the best version. Like we seen it happen on the Wii, how they put out a few Call of Duties. We saw it happen on the Wii U. They had a couple of Assassin's Creeds. But being realistic, they never went anywhere. And you could chalk that up to numerous reasons. The fact that the games were late, they were full price. Sometimes they didn't come with the DLC. Sometimes they were gimped. So here's the thing. Would you rather them put those games on Nintendo Switch, like just the multiplats just for the sake of? Or would you rather those same developers do something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique, something that would get you thinking like, I might want to buy that? Because let's be real, Nintendo consoles will always be relegated to the Me Too syndrome. They will always be the side bitch of gaming, right? The side piece, the side chick. You know, you love them for who they are, but they ain't gonna be your main hoe. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you rocking with PlayStation or PC, you need those consoles because they get 90% of the games that the Switch doesn't get. But here's the thing. Here is the weird thing. Let's say you run into a situation where you own a PlayStation 4, you own a Nintendo Switch, and for obvious reasons, you're not going to buy a multi-platform Nintendo Switch. Would you rather that same developer, that same studio, create something like a mario+rabbids Kingdom Battle? This game right here is really cool because it addresses a lot of the problems that these publishers have had with games on Nintendo platforms. You know, there was the age-old excuse that the reason why there's no third-party support is because they can't possibly compete with Nintendo for the Nintendo first party, which I think is a load of crap because there's been a lot of good third-party games on the Nintendo 3DS. That didn't stop more developers from jumping on board to that. So it just comes down to you making a good, competent game, and the audiences, the general public, will react. Look at the Nintendo Switch and how all these games are selling despite Nintendo putting out their first-party games, their first-party ports. So I don't buy that. However, I do believe there is a market for some of these studios to create Nintendo Switch exclusives. And whether or not they want to make their own unique IP for the Nintendo platform, or they want to go this route and Nintendo licenses their characters, I'm all for that because let me paint the picture for y'all. Compare Ubisoft's support for Nintendo last generation to this one. In terms of games that they've put out thus far, it really hasn't changed. Of course, they put out the usual stuff, like the games that exist on everything, like Just Dance. But last generation, their Nintendo exclusive was Zombie U. This generation, it's mario+rabbids Kingdom Battle. Compare the quality that went into Zombie U to mario+rabbids Kingdom Battle, and it's night and day. This game as a whole is so much better than Zombie U. Like, that game was not good just in general. It wasn't. Yeah, some people liked it for what it was. It was a launch title, whatever. But this game right here, being released in the launch year, has more quality attached to it. You can definitely tell that they put more tender love and care into this than some of their past games. So would you guys be on board with some of these other developers taking a stab at these Nintendo franchises? They've already done it with the Fire Emblem series, Fire Emblem Warriors. They did it with The Legend of Zelda, with Hyrule Warriors. To be honest, if I'm being real with y'all, if we don't get some of these third-party multiplats for particularly a power reason, because that's a lot of the reason why some of these studios don't put their games on Nintendo systems. Let's be honest, y'all, a system can sell crazy like the Nintendo Wii and they're still not going to put their games on it. Why? Because power is a main factor. Regardless of what fanboys like to tell you, power does matter in a system when it comes to third-party support. And if they have to go so far to make this custom version that really compromises the experience, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to want to do it. Of course, they'll dabble in, they'll tip their toe in there like, oh, this is cool, that's right. Like they made a couple of Call of Duties on the Wii, but let's be real, those really didn't go anywhere, despite the Wii selling the most that generation. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes power and performance does matter with game development. So here's the thing. If you are one of those big studios, why can't you allocate a separate team to making a Nintendo Switch exclusive? And if you don't want to run the risk of a new IP where you don't know if it's going to sell or not, maybe start talking to Nintendo about creating different genres within the franchises. It's no stranger to anyone that Nintendo does like milking their games, but they like to do it in a way where every single character, yes, it might be Mario on it, but it's like a different genre. You know, you have the main 3D Mario games, then you have the 2D Mario games, then you have the Mario sports titles, and just everything in between. Why can't we farm out some of these games to studios who actually can make a competent version of them? Because let's be real, if it's not a 3D Mario or the occasional spin-off, most of the games Nintendo has been releasing have been pretty much ass. If it's not their main series, they literally bastardize it. Like, look at all the past Mario Party games, the Mario sports games. These used to be legendary party games that we'd have so much fun playing, and I can't even look at some of these games nowadays. Like, they put their D teams on them, and it's really evident with the quality. So why can't we have some of these studios, I say bring back Mario Strikers. Why can't we do that? Why can't we get more interesting takes on the Mario franchise? You already know it's going to be a guaranteed sell. I know a lot of people who think this is a first party exclusive because it is Mario, even though it's like second/third party. So why can't we do that? I would love to see them come out with an RTS Nintendo title. I would love for them to come out with maybe another first-person shooter Nintendo title, something different like Splatoon, for example. You know, that was made in-house by Nintendo. That's their answer to the multiplayer shooter type of game. But why does it have to stop there? Why can't we get a couple of things that are different? Maybe some games that are set in the universe. If I'm being 100% honest with y'all, I think that that's more interesting long term than them putting out Call of Duty or Battlefield on the Nintendo platforms. I would still love for them to be on there, and I think that when we get future revisions of the Nintendo Switch with the Tegra X2, we can get to the point where we can have true console quality gaming on the go. But as it stands, man, if I'm being 100% real with y'all, I would take these exclusives that are built from the ground up for Nintendo Switch that are different, that are unique, than a gimped version of Call of Duty that I can take anywhere just for the sake of saying I can take it anywhere. I definitely want to know what you guys think about this, because this is why I'm so excited about the future of Nintendo Switch, because if games like this come out and they are good and they sell well, the sky's the limit. We already see Nintendo's taking risks with like their movie division, and they're coming out with a Super Mario Brothers movie. They're coming out with the Detective Pikachu movie. They're doing a lot of un-Nintendo things. I think they're realizing that in order to adapt to the market, they have to sometimes, you know, leave their comfort zone. You know, it's taken them a long time to do that, as anyone can tell you. But I think this is very good for Nintendo. I welcome this. I welcome some of the changes. And I think this is long term what's really going to propel them to the top, because unlike Sony, who really doesn't license out some of their old franchises to other studios, Nintendo is in the situation where they can do that. They can't be putting out a major first party title every single month. Like the reason why the Nintendo Switch, its first year was so good, and a lot of people don't want to accept this, is because the Wii U was the sacrificial lamb. I guarantee you that all the big games that released this year for Nintendo Switch, if they weren't a port of a Wii U game, they started development on the Wii U. We already know Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was developed for the Nintendo Wii U. I'm pretty sure Splatoon 2 was going to be on the Wii U. I'm sure Super Mario Odyssey was going to be on the Wii U. Because let's be realistic here, y'all. If the Wii U sold gangbusters, if it sold like 40, 50 million units, they wouldn't be coming out with the Nintendo Switch yet. They wouldn't. So I think somewhere down the road where they realized that the Wii U was it was a failure, they had to come out with the Switch, and they had to rush it, and they had to port all these games really fast. So by comparison, the Nintendo Switch's first year was so great because the last couple of years the Nintendo Wii U were so bad. They were holding off on all those games, and they wanted to release them in a timely fashion. So that being said, I do think there's a tendency for their game development to slow down. Maybe we're not going to go from having a major installment, 9 out of the 12 months of the year. Maybe we're going to go down to having 5 major games a year with a couple of things sprinkled in between. That's where I think having these third-party collaborations can really help bolster the Nintendo Switch's lifespan, because not only are you going to get all the other games that these publishers are putting out, but you're going to get this occasional one-off exclusive every couple of months that's not from Nintendo, but it is a Nintendo exclusive, thankfully. So it's kind of like, oh, this is awesome. You know what I'm saying? So let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think. I'm very interested to see what this future holds for the Nintendo Switch. And as you guys can see, I don't BS you at all when it comes to this sort of thing. I'm not coming on here and saying that, oh, I'm so excited because I'm the #1 biggest Nintendo Switch fan and I need to be a Nintendo fan and positively this. No, I'm a realist. I keep it real. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to certain games, yeah, I might want to pick it up on Nintendo Switch, but if it's dog shit on Nintendo Switch, I'm getting it on the PlayStation 4. So me being excited about the future it's coming from a genuine place. It's not coming from a dude who has to justify his love for a Nintendo system. That's all I really want to say. Hope you guys have a wonderful and fantastic start to the week. My name is NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.